Yeah, firstly, Phil, thanks for the opportunity. I am calling from Holland. I'm Irish. We're a very international company. We're based in Delft, which is just below Amsterdam, for those of the people who know the Netherlands. Beautiful day here. Looking forward to presenting to everybody. I would like to thank Richard. He gave a very good presentation, very coherent. We're taking a different perspective. We're going directly into a workflow. So Phil, can you just confirm you can see my screen? You should be able to see.
Yes, sir, absolutely, it's fine.
Perfect. So what I'm going to go directly through to do is our CEO, Frank Schuyler, is very keen that we give real life demonstrations. So everything we show is in real time. We have a product which is called Verifi3d, and that's exactly what it's for. It's for the verification of 3D information within the construction industry. The way that we're approaching the product is we're trying to simplify the whole process. So we are aiming for a target market of anywhere between 20 years of age and 65 at any stage of the construction process. What you see at the moment with the existing solutions which are on the market, they are basically dictated by expert knowledge. So you have people who are contact people within construction companies internationally, in Europe, Scandinavia, and also the Americas, where you have a point of contact within a company and that person is charged with data validation. We want to make data validation simpler. We want to make sure that you can create a network for data validation within your company. And that's what we've been concentrating on for the last year. So what I'm going to do today is give you a very clear overview of how we've approached reaching that solution. I'll begin by introducing you to the UI. I'll begin up here on the top. I'll talk about our generic structure. I'll then talk about how we've tried to make our workflow very literal. So one of the complaints that has been leveled regarding data validation, again, it's for experts. And we're of the opinion with developments in technology, it shouldn't be just for experts. It should be something which is done collectively by a company where there's a buildup of a knowledge bank within a company. That's put into templates. The templates can be reused again and again by that company on different projects and refined over time. So on the left-hand side, we have the menu. The menu gives a structure as to how data validation happens. If I start here above, I can give you an idea as to how we've set things up. I've gone back to the homepage. We have a very simple homepage. You can see that we have a more traditional way of working where we can add projects directly from the browser. This means that you can have localized workflows where you can use your file repository to load into Verifi3d. The most important thing and the difference for Verifi3d is that we're cloud-based. So anything you do is cloud-based. You have the potential to log in on a browser anywhere with a minimal performing computer, and you can begin your data validation remotely. So we have the traditional route. We also have a link with BIM360. BIM360 has been very important in the last year as a common data environment. A lot of construction companies have had to expedite their movements to digital workflows. We have simple user settings where people can flip between imperial metric workflows and assist them in saving their settings. Most importantly, what we have below, and it's what I just mentioned, we have the capability for people to be able to share their workflows in real time. So at the moment, there are limitations regarding how people can engage in problem solving regarding data validation in the construction industry. So what we have is the possibility to be able to share people within your company and outside your company to specific projects. The way that you can do that, I'm just going to move this, is by the type of user access role you have. So I'm logged in at the moment as a company administrator. We have 3 different types of user access roles. It's arranged in a hierarchy. We think that that simplifies things and makes less room for mistakes. Company admin can do everything. He or she would operate at a strategic level within the company and would decide on the allocation of tasks and responsibilities for data validation. Below them, you would have a project administrator. So if this was an active project, I would have a list of the project administrators. And then thirdly, we have general users. General users are overseen by the project administrator. If I was to talk, I know there's a difference between VDC and ADC when we talk about the Americas and Europe, but generally project administrators will be seen as BIM managers. They would be in charge of a project, and they would basically have oversight over all of the general users. So this is the homepage. You have an idea as to the workflows we can offer. You can do it locally. You can link into Verifi3d. You can add people from within your organization, and you can share the information. If we go to a particular project, we click here above. This is our typical structure. We have the models which we need to check. These are uploaded at the moment directly from a common data environment, Verifi3d in this sense. We have model set browsers. This is the aggregation. So we've pulled together 4 or 5 different models. They already exist in a set. We can go back to those. Again, you don't have to, every time you log in, put together these sets. These are things you can revisit. We are trying to simplify the workflow. And again, we see this model set browser as an absolute essential ingredient for the simplification. And here, lastly, if we have a particular project, we can begin to add people to that project or remove them in accordance with what is necessary. So I'm here again, and then I go through to the, in this case, the model browser. So what I have here is I've loaded in a project we are currently doing with a Dutch company. I'm going to use this project to talk about the value proposition of our product in its current iteration. If we go to the left-hand side, I began the demonstration by explaining to you that we're trying to make data validation very systematic, very controlled, very accessible. And we do that by organizing it into moments. So you can organize your information, you can classify it, validate it, and report it. What I'm going to show you today is how we would look at filtering information out of existing data sets. I've already spoken about what model sets are. Then I'm going to run some very generic rules to give you an idea as to how data validation works and how simple and straightforward it can be. And then I'll report on some issues. When I report the issues, I'll show you one of our third-party integrations. It's BIM Collab. Why I'm showing you that is to show that you have a lot of flexibility with our solution. We're not predicated or tied to any particular common data environment or to any particular product. We work with Revit, we work with IFC, because we feel they're the most universal formats which characterize digitalization within the construction industry. Down below, again, with this idea of simplicity, you have a very clear set of data analysis tools. You can flick to the building stories, you can reset your views, you can look at things in 2D plans, you can begin to look and walk around as you would in a gaming software, you can localize spaces, and lastly, you can take sections. We're constantly talking to our user groups at the moment to ask them what type of features they want. What they're telling us is keep it as simple as possible. And with that idea of simplicity, I will go directly through to the filtering. So we have filters here. This is a group we're working with, again, in the Netherlands. They have a desire to have very generic filters, so they can set them up initially. Very straightforward. You set up a filter, you're able to press play, and that allows you to localize a search predicated on the elements which are available within a model. Nothing groundbreaking about that, but remember, again, we're being browser-based. This is a relatively large model. It's very easy to get to this point very quickly. If we also look at things like project requirements, with Richard's presentation, which preceded mine, he talked about the ever-increasing complexity associated with construction work. If you look at construction requirements, every country basically has their own way, and every project has their own way of checking project requirements. And that means it might be to do with the file name, it might be to do with the positioning, the classification system. What we've done for this company is we've helped them to begin to look at checking these things very quickly to prevent them having to do repeat work again and again and again. So for every project they're working on, they have their own in-house standards. They have requirements regarding the information they need from their suppliers. The suppliers are obligated to provide them with the information they need for a particular project. And what we've done is we've helped them to automate that. Initially, we give them the flexibility to be able to look at the filters manually, but very quickly they can make the segue from making generic filters and move that directly into the creation of automated filters. So that's one of the advantages we have, and that's been received quite well by this particular user group. If we go further, So you can see there that this particular functionality is separated out all the individual entities. It's predicated on what is in the existing model set. It happened quite quickly. It's not overly intricate or difficult to do. The other thing we have is we can actually run a check on an existing model set by looking at a smart filter. A smart filter allows us to look at the information which is actually in a model rather than the information which should be in a model. So again, if somebody has not classified the information correctly, that's usually a problem on projects. But what you can do with the smart filter function is you can enter a parameter. In this case, it's an assembly code, and you can begin to look at the associated nomenclature. So the way that it's been named, you can very quickly begin to figure out, is this good quality information or not? So that's how we approach kind of classification, the beginning of the journey there. Filtering is very important. It's time consuming. We think that this way of filtering makes things quicker. It also prevents you from having to do things 2 or 3 times. If we look at rules, rules is the next step after filtering. You can begin to look at rules for different purposes. This particular rule is a very simple one. It's a property check. You can quickly begin to look at, I'm looking at the time myself, you can quickly begin to look at things like, are the properties associated with certain modeled elements correct? We have a stoplight system. Green means it's good to go. Red means it contradicts the rule requirements. Again, it's simple to set this up. It's also simple to be able to get the information out. So you can export directly to a PDF, CSV, or an Excel. This is an idea of the rules we have. They're fed by the filters which are set up. They can be automated slowly but surely. Once we found a theoretical issue, we can go to our issue tracker. And what we have here again is a very simple interface. The result of the data validation process can be quickly filled in. I can look, this is a Verifi3d issue. I can add an image, make the screenshot. I can add a second image if I needed to zoom in on a particular thing. Perhaps one of the items is significantly different, who knows. I can make a second screenshot. Once the information, I'm happy with the type of information which is available, I can begin to assign it to somebody within my company. I can give it a due date for completion, and I can share it. And what we have currently at the moment is the ability to be able to put it to connect to BIM Collab. That's one of our third-party partners. We can also share with BIM 360 issues. Again, you don't have to change your whole workflow to allow for us. We have an existing flexible series of integrations which can allow you to, which facilitates the kind of putting us into your workflow, as it were. So what I've described there basically is a generic workflow, and I also gave you a brief introduction to how we're approaching data validation and how we're trying to simplify it. Just going to zoom back out again, go back to the starting view. Again, we are aiming to allow more people to be able to do data validation. We're trying to do that by making a very explicit workflow. And we're also trying to do it by leveraging the advantages of common data environments, browser-based workflows, and basically templates. So that's an overview. I'm going to hand it back to Paul, if you want to take it over again.
Hugh, thank you for that. Testing the veracity of BIM models is really important, because what I believe is the case is that different trades, different aspects of a project will have their own BIM models that all need to be federated, and being able to have certainty that they're constructed in accordance with the rules required is absolutely key for the foundation, is it not? Would you agree?
It absolutely is, but I think that what we're also realizing is that no matter how well you control the inputs, there's always going to be exceptions. So we're trying to allow for the good practitioners, but then also to allow for people who are receiving maybe third-party information, which is maybe not of the standard it could be. So we're allowing for both cases. And again, the idea of our approach is that we're trying to make it more accessible. And I think that this, we say simplification, but I think it's more about accessibility. If somebody needs to check models, they need to know that they have the right version. There needs to be a simple approach to setting those things up. There also needs to be oversight within the company they're in to help knowledge transfer. We think that the way we've set things up allows for that.
I got it. You're on the side of simplicity, focusing on the quality of the analysis. Well, thank you, Hugh. That was most insightful.